the couple of events during the game, like the square ball was one, the point that should have been perhaps was the second thing that he can look back on. But overall, you have to look at the game in a wider context. I thought in terms of honesty, in terms of courage, you couldn't have asked for more. It was a wonderful occasion. Maybe at times the football was a little bit scrappy and there was poor decision making, but I think ultimately flair prevailed. Like Down had more flair players to play to the top of their ability. I felt that Kildare didn't get as much out of their better players as they should have, and even though they were stubborn right to the bitter end, probably they just on the day not enough of their big players played their A game, so to speak.
Right. What did you make of it, Anthony?
I go along with pretty much what Martin said. I thought, you have to say this was an absolutely fantastic occasion, an enthralling game. I mean, the entertainment we've got from those two teams today and the two semi-finalists last weekend has been absolutely fantastic. If you sat down to try and write the script for the last 2 weekends, you'd struggle to come up with anything better than what we witnessed over the last 2 Sundays. Absolutely fantastic. Heartbreaking for Kildare. They gave everything they had, but just on the day it just wasn't enough, and the rub of the green went against them. But ultimately, I think Down won the game because in their forward line they just had players with a little bit more class, and they delivered on the big day. Kildare's classy forwards that we saw earlier on the championship were just a little bit shy today of where they needed to be to win the game. It's, you score 114 in an All-Ireland semi-final, you would think you've done enough to win the game, but today it wasn't good enough, and Kildare have been fantastic all year, and they should hold their heads up high because they were brilliant, but just today they were found just a little bit short. Yeah,
I wonder though, is it hard for them to hold their heads up given they know there were incidents that changed the whole game? I mean, right at the very last minute, I mean, let's have a look at this.
75 minutes into the game, and as we spoke already, it is about a game of inches, and in both semi-finals were terrific occasions, and in games like this, the small little things can make a difference. And look, Kildare didn't have the luck today. You say you make your own luck, but Callum King can smile. He did get a touch to that ball, put it onto the post, a great save, a fantastic kick. Yeah. See him, he gets his hands to it, so the argument is over. You did get a touch to it, Callum, but again, very, very unlucky for Kildare. They hit the upright, they hit the crossbar.
The rebound hits them in the face rather than falling to the Kildare man, so that's...
So he should get credit as well.
Absolutely.
But look at this, so Kildare fans, I mean, they might accept Down were the better team, as you say. Yeah. That's hard to take. If I'm a Kildare fella, I don't care,
But there was only 2 points in it, and some of the incident had a major influence on the outcome of the game, as Geezer said in his interview. And if you are sitting there as a manager, having given your heart and soul all year, you'd want everything to go right for you on the day. And today for Kildare, things didn't really go right for him.
Sorry, Tony, but the square ball. Yeah, like Benny has admitted afterwards that he was in the square.
Listen, everyone in Croke Park knew it was a square ball.
Well, how the hell was it given?
Straight away, as soon as the ball was coming in, we were sitting together watching the game. We said, it's in the square. It's a square ball. You can see clearly from this analysis, you didn't need us today. Ball into the square, and he's clearly in before the ball. He could play ground rent waiting for the ball in there on his own. Marty hits the ball in, and Benny is just waiting for it inside. And you can see as we go on, there we have him, right in before the thing, gets a punch up, and look, he didn't know where the square was, but clearly he was in the square.
Yeah, one of the things on that, actually, here it is again, is quite clearly again, you see the ball up in the air, you see Benny is inside the small rectangle, clearly a square ball.
12 minutes into the game, 3 points to 1 to Kildare. Kildare on a roll, just changed the game.
But look at that has, be it they might have been the better team, that has cost them arguably a place in the All-Ireland Final.
Absolutely.
It has, yeah. And one of the things, so to credit McEnany with that, he went to his umpire, who I think is an inter-county referee, and asked him, was it a goal or not? Like, he did go in and consult, in contrast to what happened at the Leinster Final, and the umpire said it was a goal, but how they didn't see it.
It's difficult for the umpires to judge.
Come on.
It is difficult from where they're standing, but that was so obvious for whether it be linesmen or the referee to have saw that ball crossed line. And the indicator is, if a player is able to get in right on top of the keeper and almost on top of the line, then that's a fair indication that you can't make up that sort of distance in the time it takes a ball to travel through the air.
Kieran McGeady didn't need replays, for instance.
No, nobody did.
No one in Croke Park.
Nobody
Everyone knew that.
Anyone that plays the game has a natural instinct for the game, and you'd know by your instinct that it was in the square.
It was as clear an example as I've seen all year.
And
it should have been a free
out.
Well, it has gone a major way to it.
Okay, and not taken from down on that. But there's another issue then Kieran McGeady referred to, Anthony, and this was a point.
Yeah, and this was fairly clear. You look at it from that angle, you think, yeah, that's a point. You hear the roar of the crowd, probably from the Cusack stand, who have a good sight of the ball going over the bar. You look at it from this angle, and you think, yeah, that's a point. From here, you're not quite sure, but The one thing for me is here in Croke Park, we had rugby in here for a few years. The rugby posts were way higher than the GA posts. So why we just couldn't have put the posts up a little bit higher and solve these arguments. But for me, that was
that
fairly clear.
That certainly looks like a point from this angle here. But the one thing I must say, we were looking this in slow motion. We looked clearly to see where the umpires were.
Yeah,
and he placed himself in the optimum position, down his knees to look up. So look, it isn't conclusive there. It looks like it went over the post. It looks like a point, but it's not absolutely conclusive.
Let me move you on to the other complaint that Kildare people have, and that was a penalty claim right at the end, and that melee in the goal.
Well, I think this is the second last play in the game. I suppose it was 116 to 114, and we had major drama. Kildare had just fought back into the game, and here we see like a schoolyard game where they're all chasing the ball. But we'll have to slow it down really to have a look at it. The outcome of it is that Pat McEnany hopped the ball, and it shouldn't really have been a hop. First of all, we slow it down here. We see Kieran McKiernan going in.
Kevin
McKiernan.
Yeah.
He follows the ball in. Now, if he touches it there, it's a 13-metre free. If he touches it on the line, it's a 13-metre free. If he touches it in the small square, it's a penalty. If he lies on the ball, it's a penalty. Now, we're going to look at it again in slow motion from another angle. My contention is that he touched the ball just as it was going either on or over the line. OK? And then he lies on the ball. One is a 14-metre free. If he touches it inside the box, which I think he did there, it's a penalty. And when he lies on the ball, it's certainly a penalty.
Anthony, you don't agree?
Well, no, for me, the initial contact with touching the ball on the ground occurred outside the...
Or on the line.
So outside the small square. No. So that's a 14-yard free. The second contact is inside the small square.
That's penalty.
But I think the ball's on the line. I don't think it's completely over the line, which it needs to be. The third issue is, does he lie on the ball? For me, yes, you could argue that he lies on the ball, but the key here is position of the referee. Just outside picture shot there at the minute, you have 20 players in the square, and for me the referee has got to be absolutely sure that a foul has been committed before he can award a penalty, and there's no way with the bodies around that contest that the referee could
Anthony,
say
it's
for
an All-Ireland semi-finals. There's a minute left.
There's 20 players in the square.
It's either a 14-yard free or a penalty. Well, you can't hop the ball, Anthony.
If you're unsure, you
the
hop
20
the ball.
players aren't all between him and
but
the ball.
That is a penalty.
There's 7 or 8 of them there.
No,
you can't say for sure that that's a penalty.
You cannot. I fully agree with Anthony. You cannot say definitively that was a penalty. I think the first touch on the ground is marginally outside the small rectangle. The second one is just on the line.
And does he
lie on the ball in the small square?
Yes, he does.
And is that a penalty?
It is, yeah. But the initial foul, or the initial foul.
This is an All-Ireland semi-final.
These guys.
The initial foul wasn't given.
The initial foul wasn't given.
The initial foul wasn't given, so the play is still.
These guys have given their heart and soul all year.
Yeah, but I think
that's not right.
Yeah, but on the basis of what we can see there, the initial foul was outside. Now, Pat McEnany, I thought his view was obscured, but at the same time, I felt myself I couldn't understand why there was a throw ball at the end of it all.
The throw ball's there because the referee is unsure of what happened, so he has to do something. He's not sure. He couldn't see what was going on because of the bodies that were there.
Well, let's balance this out now, because the Kildare goal, Martin, also has big question marks about it.
Yeah, very much so. Again, if you look at the Kildare goal, Pádraig O'Neill gets the ball, drives it into James Kavanagh. His handling lets him down here. Eamon Callanan, I think it is, who gets on the end of it. Shows great strength in getting around his man and fires the ball into the net. Very, very well taken. But again, just as Down, or as Kildare were aggrieved early on by the Down goal, I think equally so Down have a right to be aggrieved by this, because he took 7 steps before the tackle. He took 11 before he bounced the ball. And in my opinion, that should have been a free out.
Yeah, it's clearly a free out. We counted 11 steps.
11
the tackle
steps.
came on the 7th.
Yeah.
He continued on. We saw a try at that goal earlier on this year with Meath, and there we see another.
Anthony?
Yeah, I thought the tackle was made on the 6th. So
That's right.
the referee has decided to play advantage, so therefore he's entitled to another 4 steps. It was a marginal call, but it was only one of the key decisions that went in Kildare's favour compared to the other ones that went against them.
OK, let's look at the more positive elements of a famous victory for
and
Down.
we shouldn't lose sight of that.
No, exactly.
Amongst all, but supporters from Kildare, they all want to know why their team was beaten, and they will feel aggrieved about this, I'm sure, for a long period of time. It is indeed, it's important we spend time on it. But
what won it for Down?
For me, I said earlier about Down's forwards, and their forwards played exceptionally well, but the key moment for me was the 10 minutes before half-time. Game was in the balance. Down scored 4 points in this period, the first superb point by Marty Clark. And instead of going in maybe a point or two up at half-time, Down went in 5 points up at half-time, and that allowed them to set their strategy for the second half, allowed them to defend and to play on the counter. And all they needed, they'd scored 1-9 in the first half, and all they needed then to win the game was another 5 or 6 points. And it's easy enough to get 5 or 6 points when you can sit back and counter. You know, these were fantastic points. This one by Danny Hughes off his left, and absolute key moment of the game. The best point, or one of the best points we've had witnessed this year, comes from Benny Coulter. Absolute genius. The little dink of a pass and return, and you wonder here, well, there are 5 Kildare players here, and what on earth can he do here?
Yeah.
You know, and he kicks a wonder point off the outside of his boot. Absolutely class. Yeah. But for me, that was the key moment of the game when Down set the platform for the victory.
Yeah. Martin, you wondered, was Benny's pass, was it maybe a solo that went very high?
Well, I thought he was in two minds at the time. Like, he spooned it to himself, but again, he finished it with plum, like a wonderful score.
You have to have some skill to do that, though, Mark.
It takes a lot of skill, but I thought, generally speaking,
and a great finish.
Yeah, great finish. Their half-backs, though, were superb in the first half, in particular McKernan, as centre half-back. Brilliant. I have to get that in with Anthony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you felt that Kildare, maybe was it the occasion, but you felt they weren't as
Kildare,
as calm as
a certain lack of composure at certain times during the game. Certainly their work rate is never questionable. They create so many chances. But look, this is about 16 metres out, and James Cavanagh just spoons it wide. You know, they missed some easy frees today. Wasn't under pressure. Here we see Carl Innes outside of 45. Crucial time during the game, but he get wide again. You know, we've seen them at this all the time. Here we see another wild ball, wide again. You know, they would have worked those into scoring positions earlier on, and another bad wide again on the other, or hits the post on the other side of the goal and goes wide. You know, they worked those balls into scoring positions early on in the championship. Just today they had a chance with all the things we showed earlier on. Just a little lack of composure, but they showed no lack of courage. They were brilliant when they came back, and I think that should have been a penalty, the last one, and it would have changed the whole game.
Now, Martin, you give a lot of credit for maybe Kildare's lack of composure to the Down defence. But in attack, they had real match winners as well.
Well, they had a holy trinity as far as I was concerned, of Daniel Hughes, Benny Coulter and Marty Clark. Look at Danny Hughes again. His picking up a breaks is wonderful, but he got 2 great points. There's an example of one of them. But Marty Clark's place kicking, he got 3 in the day, 2 from frees. But that place kick was a real pressure kick. Took it, you know, very well. And I thought throughout the match, actually, he just gave an exhibition of calmness, doing the right things at the right time. Beautiful bit of distribution there once again. But watch the way Coulter just uses his body that time to get around McGrillen. And Benny has thrived in Croke Park, which I'm thrilled to see, because in some of the games earlier this year he seemed to be a little bit short in confidence, but in the last 2 games against Kerry and today he was just magnificent.
Okay, so did that earn him a nomination for man of the match, Anthony? In a contentious vote amongst our
No, we had a bit of fun over this, and it's interesting that we felt that most of the contenders for man of the match were from Down. Kildare's performance was all about work rate and the team, and there were very few standout performers. Maybe Emmett Bolton was the best of the Kildare team, but Down's defence was solid throughout. Their midfield was very good, but in attack, there's the 3 lads that we mentioned earlier. Martin Clark, fantastic throughout. Danny Hughes, brilliant. Interesting, he wasn't that good against Kerry, but he came back to his form today, which was great for Down. And finally, Benny Coulter. Those were what we settled on as our contenders for man of the match.
Okay.
Tough choices.
Despite Martin's best efforts to get some of the other. Tony, then, so